just up in here, I put a bit of blue, darker blue over in this area, and I'm just going to encourage some of these bluer tones up into here. It's the lavender that I'm using, it's a alizarin crimson, purple lake, a little bit of phthalo blue and a little bit of cobalt blue. And I'm just putting a few dark areas in there. I'm leaving the blue showing through underneath, just areas of the blue where you can see through it. This is my palette. You can see the colours I'm using. Got the purple lake, the blues. I've got to be careful with some of these because I want them darker than the blue. I want them to blend into this area down in here quite softly, so that it goes from the blue to the purple, and there's going to be still a bit of purple up in these areas in here still. Bit on there, bit of cloud going on, maybe a tiny bit darker. I've done two different shades of the colour so that there's one darker than the other, and up in here it's going to be slightly darker, you see, is the hue. There, that's it. Something about like that, and then leave little bits of the blue in from before, which I've put in there. I'm going to darken them off a bit. Come back up in here with a filbert brush if I like, just to sort these little details out, but I'm going to highlight some of these, put some of these beautiful highlights up in there, and then a little bit just up in there, that darker colour. Just wisp that off so that it's soft, just in there. Only that little bit of blue showing through that you can see there too. Soft. And then up in here, a bit of this darker blue. It's quite a darker blue is this one. You can leave the highlights out wherever you want. These little areas where there's bits of light, leave them out. You can take that right up to the top edge, up in there. It's quite dark up in the top edge there. And then that cloud can just blow its way down to there. There, that's nice. Now I just want to bring a little bit of that colour just into these areas. Now what I've done is I've let the painting dry, and then simply, once it's dried, I put a thin coat of linseed oil over the whole of this, so that it's slick and wet, and then when I put the paint on like I have done here, I can just move it around how I want it to be. I can soften it out, I can blend from light to dark, from this blue to the purple, so there's a soft grade, a soft graduation between the two. See there? The difference that makes. Blend that in up to there. Don't go into the light areas, because obviously that's going to really stand out nicely then. Just a matter of blending some of the blue down and into these areas, nice and soft. I was going to use filbert, but I decided to use this brush instead. And just soften some of them up by going into them areas. Like that. It's working well. And still a little bit of that purple up in here will be showing through. Nice. So you've got some dark tones towards the edges, which will increase the light tones that you've got in here. There's a lovely tree that we're going to do in here that will contrast big style against all of this as well. So I'm just going to now go into some titanium white with a clean brush, with a clean filbert brush. I could use a fan brush, no problem. That would be fine. But I'm going for a filbert. And I'm going to get some straight titanium white, some yellow, and some alizarin crimson. So I'm just getting some colours out now for that. And we've got a bit of crimson. bit of yellow, just a cadmium yellow. You get different hues of it. This isn't one of the strong ones, it's a bit closer to the lemon yellow. So, on a clean brush, you can see in there the paints that I've got: titanium white, purple, alizarin crimson, and a bit of cadmium yellow. So I'm going to just mix them colours up, get a tiny bit of the crimson and a tiny bit of the yellow. That's all you need with both, and it gives you a lovely peachy tone. See that? Get a bit more white into that. There. Push, get a little tiny ridge. I'll just give you some paint there to work with basically. And then, because this is dry, but yet wet, because it's got linseed oil over it, it's wet, but yet it's dry. It shouldn't mix in as much with the other colours, you know, like the blue that's behind. So I'm just going to put some of these little indications of highlights just up in there. Might need a little bit more of the colour. This is a bit too white, so a bit more crimson and the tiniest bit of yellow, just to give it a bit more of a pinky hue to that. Just up in there, just highlight some of these edges of this. Same up in there, I'm going to highlight a few little spots here and there. So I'm just lighting up the underside of that cloud, and you can even have some coming off the edge of the canvas there. And it's good to have a variation, like this one here is quite a bit brighter, these are quite bright, and you can use tiny circles as well with these. I'm just going to pinch a bit more colour into a really vibrant colour, and I'm just going to use little tiny circles into that, in there. I'm just going to soften that, but it's going to be nice and bright on the underside of that cloud, just in there. Nice little bright area. Just add some of that in there. That's it. And then again with that same colour, I'm going to indicate a little bit more highlight just underneath there. There, that's nice. Really nice warm colour. I'm going to drag some of this a little bit through. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to highlight one side of this. I'll put some little highlights of that colour tone in there for a cloud, and a bit in there. Just highlight little areas like that. And then gently below them, you just tickle it, and it'll just blend away into the darkness of the cloud. Same over in there, just tickle the bottom of it, and it'll soften it out. There, nice. So drag some of that through into this cloud here. Yeah, be a bit careful. Use the corners and pick up a bit of that colour, just allow it to drift into this darker area, because you'll still get a few bits of light hitting in there. Definitely. Nice. Now, just up in here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to give a few little indications here and there where the light is actually hitting the tops, and then I'm just going to blend out underneath that. Really nice and soft. Don't want it too bright. Right. Now, again, I could easily just towel on the same brush, clean off the excess paint on a paper towel, and then hopefully with that, that'll just allow us to come in here and put some really soft subtle touches to the bases of these, so there's no little marks in there. It blends nicely then. There's a little line across there where it's a bit lighter, and that helps the contrast between the two. Bit in there where that darker blue is. a little contrast here and there. Happy. Actually drag, if you touch just up in here, so it's darker colour. Just touch a bit of that. Put tiny little shadows just in them areas. And it drags a bit of that colour back into this area too. It's not just one shade, just soft bits. That's that lightest area that I wanted. Just in there, you can get a bit more of the light with the crimson and yellow, and I'm just going to brighten that area up just a tiny bit. Create a few little ups and downs on that cloud because I want it a bit brighter in there. Just for that cloud. Just blend that in. That's nice. See, the light areas will really help the darker areas, and vice versa. Right, so basically underneath where this cloud is here, I'm just going to put some land. There's an area of land just in there. So for that I'm going to use the same lavender basically that I've used in the sky, which is that colour there. That one. So I'm just going to load my brush with that, not forgetting that on here is liquid clear linseed oil, sorry. I didn't even cut linseed oil, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add some white, a tiny bit of white into that area first of all. So I'm just going to use the 1-inch brush for that. Just get a little bit of white, tiniest amount, and over the linseed oil I'm going to put a bit of that here and there, but very, very minimal, not a lot. That's basically my liquid white. I'm going to put a bit up in here where I'm going to have the top part of the... I want it to look quite misty, and as though these clouds are coming into the land, if you like. So just up in here you can put a bit more white just underneath that area to make it look like it's rolling in, and it's got little lighter areas at the base of it there. And if I just blend that then, like so, even with the other side, just blend it up into that cloud a tiny bit, and that'll give us that contrast that we're after of the rolling in, the cloud rolling in over the land. It's quite a difficult effect to get, but this is a good way of doing it by using a thin wash of this white over the top of the clouds, which I've just put in basically. And now we'll come back in with the lavender colour and see how that looks. I know that I want it to be quite light towards this side because that's where the light is. So I'm just going to get a bit of white to the colour that I've got on my brush. You can see in there sort of tone that it's at. Something about like that is what I'm thinking of, hopefully. And then starting over in here where the land starts, I'm just going to come across with some of that and see whether it's going to be dark enough. Just a little bit of that colour into there. Starting light enough, but it wants to be quite soft and subtle. It's the top of that. And that's going to go up a bit darker. So you can always go darker, but it's a bugger to go lighter. So you're best off always making it a little bit darker than you want it, lighter than you want it in this scenario, and then you can come back with a darker colour, which I knew I wanted underneath this cloud anyway, because I've just mentioned to you about the cloud rolling in. So just in that area there, I'm just going to soften underneath it first, and you'll get a line above. But don't worry, because that line above will blend that out and they'll look nice and soft as though the clouds are just trying to roll their way in, but you've got to be sporadic. You don't want a straight line here for this, you really don't. Yeah, something about like that with this lavender. Now it stands out, you see. You know, now I made it a bit lighter underneath that cloud. Oh, that's cool. And then this colour up in here, which I've been using, is probably a bit, I don't know, I'll wait, I'll do that afterwards. Just blend that out for now. Right, so as I was saying, over in here we've got a slightly darker tone for that. Now, strip of land that's coming across here. Trying to use my arm to rest. I can drag that darker colour over towards the lighter area. Yeah, like so. Just do it nice and soft in there. So, that's the start of it. Same over in there, I can start to get some of that colour underneath. That lavender that we've got mixed up. Start pulling some of that down at angles and stuff like that. Just up in there. Notice I'm pulling down to the left. I'm just adding a bit of this dark in basically. You could scrub it in, it doesn't really matter. Scrub this colour in there. Put in a bit of colour, a bit of separation from that, because I know I'm going to go darker. I know that I'm going to go quite a bit darker than I've got there. So all I'm basically doing is just putting these colours on first of all, and then I'll mix the greens and everything all into this afterwards. Right, so again into the dark lavender, just putting some of that dark colour hue in there underneath where that is. That cloud. All down in here, we're going to have some fields and stuff coming down in here, so I can indicate just the angles I'm going to have fields at, which is cool. Just in there. You see you've got your hill, and then you've got the fields down in here. So if down in here, if I just put a little bit of this blues in, this lavender, I get to mix that lavender with different yellows to create greens for the fields. And down in here, there's an area which comes straight across through there, and then there's a strip that goes down right through there. So I'm just marking them out basically. This is nothing like my final thing. This is just me marking out what I'm going to do, where it's going to go, how I'm going to have certain fields and stuff like that. See, there's a dry stone wall that goes right through this, right down through there. It's just by doing that, picking up some of that other colour, drag a bit of it down into there, you can create where you want it to go. And obviously I want this to go a bit higher over there. And then I can just paint underneath that, so that's a separate strip which we've got, which is a little bit closer than all this lot. I'm just doing this with the blues at the moment. There we go. And I'm just marking out where I want everything to go. I'm going to check that out on camera, see how that's looking on camera. Might be better off to zoom that out a bit for you. Right, so I'm just going to put this dry stone wall coming through here, a few of them actually. But I'm going to start off with this first, because it's going to be the one that stands out the most. I'm going to start off from over here. I'm just going to indicate this dry stone wall going from left to right, just in here, and it changes shape and size and gets a bit darker at areas, a bit lighter where it vanishes off. So I'm just using the brush, but I'm using the side of the brush too, and when I pick up some of the dark colour I'm chilling out on it, and just allowing the tip of the brush to pull that colour through, and then when you run out again you can go to the side of the brush, just there. It'll give you some that are a bit taller. Dry stone walls a tiny bit taller, and that drags that right through to that point there, and then the same thing again. Just going to allow a bit of that darker tone to set in that area. This dry stone wall comes right through here, all the way through. It's a little bit bigger as it comes closer to you, and then I'm going to get some more of that colour. I've thinned it down slightly with paint thinner, just so you all know. Just up in there, just going to touch and apply a little bit of a colour down to that dry stone wall down in there, just at an angle coming down, but that's it's a bit sharp at the moment. So what I do is I'll just go over the top edge and here and there indicate the odd tree that's sort of growing on these, in this area. It's like little bushes and trees and stuff, they're all growing in there. Yeah, that's it, just on the top edge. Just it stops it being a line like you do get at a distance. It tends to look like a line, but it stops that. Further away over here is where you want it to be, a bit more distinct if you like. There. And over in there we can actually add a few little smaller ones here and there. We've got little dry stone walls coming off of this, and they'll come up here and disappear into there as they're getting further away. Same with that. I'll pull a little wall there. Maybe that section's off there, and this is where you get your little bits of detail coming through into this. A few little dry stone walls that are just dying out as they go up into there, you see. And it gives you the angles as well as the steepness, because you need that steepness that you've got there. Same thing again, I'm just going to do there's a mixture of different dry stone walls down in here. So I'm just going to first of all do a real little one. It's more or less hiding away, and then it comes back up again into there. And it's basically surrounding all of this greenery that we've got in here. So if I gently go around the edge of that, doesn't matter if here and there you slip like that, that's fine. We're blending out underneath it anyway. There we go. Now some of these little fields down in here have got bits of stuff going on, but I'm going to blend them first. I'm not going to rush in there too quick. I'm going to come up in here first and indicate what we've got up in here. A couple of little fields. That just went a little bit too blue for me then, so I've just changed it a little bit, colour tone. Just so that everyone knows who's subscribed to my channel, I've been going through chemotherapy recently in the last month or two, and I'm going through it now. But I've had a little bit of I'm doing stints where I do 6 weeks on and 6 weeks off, so I'm just having little bits here and there of chemotherapy, so I'm trying to recover basically, and that's why I haven't been doing much painting for you all. It's been a bit of a tough time. I've been struggling with my hands, as you can see, keeping it still and stuff, so I'm trying my best. All I can do is basically keep going and try and beat it through using chemotherapy. There we go. I'm just going to blend that out a bit too over the top. This is why it doesn't matter with wet on wet, because you can always come back and just blend certain things out. if you're not keen, just disappear. A razor made brush, as I say. Just like over in here, you know this is a bit too much. I'm just going to come underneath, pick up some of that colour that we've got underneath there, and then come up into that and allow some of it to just disappear, because that's way too distinct for what I'm wanting is out there. Blend it out completely if I wanted. It's just come out too strong. Blend that. And when I come back to using my greens again, I can use some highlights and stuff to make that sit better. But I'm just coming in at first just to settle it out because it was a bit too strong. I can blend them colours right out actually. Even down there, if you do it heavy. So, I want it to be darker in there anyway. It's much too light for what I'm wanting, so I'll just blend that out completely. I messed up on it. Here we go. Right, now in the areas down in here where I want to create a nice edge on there for the green, I can just take off any dark bits I don't like by just tickling the base of them like that. Same in there, I can just come underneath that a bit. Bit too thick for what I want. Love it, blend it down into there. These are little things that I'm doing, but they make quite a big difference. The things like that. It's the little things that really matter. Right. So we've got some indications going on now in there. I'm happy with that. Now just here, don't worry about that because there's going to be a big rock there. It's basically going to show from there if you through. There'll be some nice rocks in that area. So I'm just going to come back to the little fan brush now for a bit. I'm going to add and apply a few more darks. Just down into here now. So first of all, where we've got the fields, it's nice to just sometimes use a filbert to just tap and indicate some of them closer fields. Some of the, because it'll give you an indication of little trees and stuff like that. You see, that are way off in the distance, just back in there, on the edge of that. We've got a little stream coming through, which I'll be indicating as well. Malham's got some beautiful streams and stuff going on. And you're always thinking about these angles for the fields where there's going to be little bushes and stuff in there. Bits of shadows and all that kind of thing. Just the filbert just gives some lovely effects for stuff like that. But that colour will still remain in there then that you've added, you know, the green. But what I'm doing now just gives that little bit of detail and lovely shadows for what you're wanting. Now I'm running out of colour a bit. I can come in here quite dark and just indicate some of the darks, therefore the lights are going to stand out miles better then. Even coming into these areas here I want a bit of darks. And like I say, the lights and the highlights will all really stand out nicely for you. There. Same down in there. Turn the brush over, get a there. Dark. Reload, get a fresh load of paint on that. Painting that wall back in again down there, don't worry about that. I've just gone a bit over it. I'm not fussed, I just knew I wanted it a lot darker than I had it. Just down in there. That's cool. Here's some lovely dark spots. Even up in here where I put that, I can actually tap. And then gently just tap that out. And it looks like a little field there then, with a shadow behind it. Same thing over in here, I think. A little bit of there. Just tap a bit gentle to that spot. Really gentle now, that's why I'm whispering. So you can see how gentle I'm tapping that from light to dark. And then these areas here are basically behind, the shadows are behind and the fields are just in front, and they stand out more because of the dark that you put in there. That's cool. Now I want to shadow a couple of these fields just down in here, so I'm just going to tap that over the green and gently, not killing all the highlights, keep some of the light in there, just gently now tap back to that area, and it'll, because you're not putting pressure on the brush, it'll blend back lovely just into there. Now that's quite a bright field we've got going on down there. These are a few bits of shadow still, and I'm going to put one maybe coming in front of that, that's darker. I can even use my fingers now for that. So let that blend softly over there, and that's just a soft rolling hill that's going to just stand out. Just going to zoom into that background that I've done for you. There you go, you can see a little bit of how it's going there. Nice and low down in the valley of Malham Cove. And then if I zoom back to there for you, you can see the highlights, and now the rocks are going to come down. There's going to be a big tree, not a big tree, but there's going to be a tree here, which will be in very silhouette against the nice bright sky. So it's a bit darker than it's looking on camera, but that's fine. I'll be able to show you at the end the darkness. Just a little bit darker tones than it's looking on camera. Usually the light does that. Right everybody, just done some in this tree because I told you about my hand being a bit unsteady and stuff. So I've just done some of that first. Now I want to come in and show you with the liner brush. All I've done is put a tiny bit of paint thinner with some Van Dyke brown, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue. And that's all the colours I've used for this, and I'm just coming in and putting some little branches in using that colour. And as you can see, I've whisked them off so that they come out of here towards the edge really quite thin at the ends. I want it to be nice and thin, the branches on the ends of the tree. So then obviously in here I need to block it in now, so I'm using my hand to rest. So if you've got an unsteady hand like I have at the moment, you can always just use your arm here and rest on your arm. If you're scared of, you know, with these details, ruining your trunk or something like that, it's still hard for me even now using this. And then you just block it in the centre with that colour all the way down. Keep getting plenty of colour because you want this to be good and dark. It's more or less in silhouette is this, and then I'll come and paint some leaves in afterwards. There we go. So just a bit of paint thinner with the mixture that I just said, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, Van Dyke brown together, but more to the lavender side, and then on the trunk area I'll do it a bit more to the brown side, to the brown tones. You can vary it, you see. At first I just wanted to get it in silhouette, like so, because it is very silhouette as this tree. It's very dark against the light behind it, and that's the beauty of it. So basically we've got that marked in now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back to the filbert brush with that same colour on it. So I'm just going to get my colour first, get a mixture of the blue, crimson together, but this time I want to just I'm not going to like do them in green, they're going to be more or less silhouette, just straight silhouette for these. So you can always, if you want, you could do them in any colour. You could do them in just the lavender. I'll show you what it looks like with just the lavender first. I might do that myself yet. So just up in here where these trees are, I want to pick out some areas where I think there's going to be some leaves for these trees, and just put them in as dark basically. Now I've put a tiny bit of thinness to this too, so it spreads out a bit, because I've got the linseed oil on there. So I'm just going to put a few dark areas in between, but you need to let the light from the sky, you need to let that show through the leaves. So you've got to be very careful at this point, really careful that you don't kill everything. So I just dot it on in areas like so, and then towards the end of the branches, yeah, more and more and more towards the ends, just up in there. And as you run out of paint, you'll find it'll stipple better. Right, just on there, put some highlights, some dark for the leaves, sorry. You see, they're growing in pretty much clumps. This is a clump of them up here too. I want to put in darker than what's behind it. Struggling at the moment, it's touching and sliding, and I don't want it to touch and slide. What you want is you touch and pull away, and that's gives you the better effect. If you touch and slide, it does that, and it just blocks it out so that there's no, like, that's what you want. Just little gentle touches like that, and it leaves some indications then of individual leaves. Right, so just up in here, I'm going to put a couple on top of that. Yeah, just working on a few little individuals in there. Leave sometimes some of the branches showing through at the base. Just like there, for instance, you can leave a few of them in there, but a lot of it's going to be covered up at the tops, up in here. Leave the odd little branch coming out of there, and darken it off underneath a bit, and then you can actually still leave bits of the sky showing through. Even up there, it's showing through, so don't destroy all that, just work on these ends a bit here, put in a bit of something in there, come out really crimson then, just cover that with a bit of something dark. Don't mind a bit of colour variation anyway, it's nice, a little bit of crimson in there, there. And that light underneath that branch, leave that. Really nice. It's working well, is that part. Right. Again, less branches, less leaves as you go down. So I want you to chill out with it a bit when you get down there. Just put a branch there for that one. See that one now? Little one just holding it up. Maybe a couple more. In there too. Work on these individuals, but these lovely lights that you show through the tree, really don't get carried away. Try your very utmost to not get carried away with them, because they get working for you and they turn into being fun to do, and it can kill your world if you overdo that. Right, same on ends of this, just want to indicate some little bits of stuff going on in there. There. I might actually turn the brush around for that slightly. So mimics the branches. Don't kill all that you've got there. Just put a few in there. Just going to get a bit more of the blue and crimson together. I'm just using an upward motion there to create that effect. Because I like going up of them branches that you can see in there. So I got an upward motion, just like the branches have. That's it. And you can trickle along a bit like that. Leave a few of the branches showing through. Don't kill all that. I'm happy with how it's going. It's starting to look nice shape. Now, there's less on this branch, so I'm going to tap and then be very, very gentle when I touch, so that I only get a small amount. Very gentle. Just on tops of that. Not a lot at all. Just a few little indications of some leaves just going on in there. Same on that. You don't have to cover everyone up neither. Leave some of them just totally with no leaves on at all. Right, let's step back now and have a good look at what we've got. I'm going to block it in a little bit, just in there. Something about like that. Good idea to have a good step back now and have a look at what we've got. Oh, it's getting there. Just need to fill it in a tiny bit more. Just in here. There. Just a little bit too much showing through. I want quite silhouette enough, especially on the ends. There. Just tap that in. That's better. Just a little bit darker, just towards where it's got more leaves and where it's more bushy. That's it. Happy. Quick look on camera, see how it's looking. Yeah, I think we've got that in pretty good there. Pretty happy with that. Another area that just needs blocking in a bit more, just in there. So I'm just working out where I need the light to come through and where I don't. And in these top areas it wants to come through much less. So a lot darker. Get a bit more crimson into that. I'm going to go over it all with a tiny bit of crimson, just to balance it out a bit. Again, I'm not over tapping, I'm just going in the areas where the leaves are and just applying a tiny bit of crimson over the blue to balance the colours out. And it'll just look nice in silhouette. We'll go over this trunk again, probably with some Van Dyke brown mixed with this colour, but more of the brown. But for now, I would say I'm happy with the effect of that. That works for me. Right guys, so at this stage, I've just been holding it on with some tape. So I'll just move some of that tape off of there. I'll leave the bottom one on. There's no point moving that, that's going to hold it for me. So I'm just going to again get some purified linseed oil, or refined linseed oil, whichever. They're both the same thing, just a different way of naming it. And with that, I'm just going to use a clean brush. I'm going to apply some to the canvas, just down in here, and then use some colour basically with the linseed oil to there we go. I'll just use this. I'll mix some colour onto the canvas where the linseed oil is, up in here. Don't need a lot. So I'm just going to smear it in there the best I can. Don't need a lot, like I say, just a little bit. Just like I did for the sky, as it were dry, I went over it with a tiny bit of linseed oil. Same thing I'm doing here. Now that'll be enough to do the whole lot. And I'm just going to scrub it into the dark area for now, so that's nice and slick and wet basically. And we can apply the paint there and move the paint and play with it. For these rocks, and just down in here is going to be some grass, a grassy area coming down off a cliff. I'm going to paint that tree, the trunk a little bit brown at some stage, but I'm just going to leave it for now. It's fine, there's no big rush to do that, no big rush at all. So with that, I'm just going to use that same brush actually. We're going to paint some rocks in, just using a little bit of lamp black to the blues that we've been using already, which is the crimson and the phthalo blue mixed together. Put a tiny bit of black to that colour on the brush, but more of the blue and crimson than the black. Very small amount of black, you don't need a lot, just to darken it off a tiny bit in there. Try that for now. Now we've got one up in here. I'm just going to pin the corner of the brush, pull that down and over there. So that's the first part of the rock. There's a few little bumps and stuff in it as well. Get a bit more paint on the brush. Right, and then just in here, it actually comes down a slow gradient. So I'm just going to use the tip of the brush to pull it down to that point. Corner of this brush doesn't seem to be working for me very well, just at the moment. But if you persist with it, usually it will start to work for you. Because the brush, the hairs on the edge will automatically start to stick together and stop splitting. See, like the ones there are splitting, that's not a good thing, but the ones at the top are still pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Happy that I can just use that there to finish that boulder. Now, just underneath this one there's a few little ones, little bumps and stuff going on in there, little boulders. I'm not painting a lot of colour here because I'm going to highlight over top of this, obviously, with the limestone colours, but there's like a bluey tinge to it, and it's nice. So I'm not going to change it, I'm going to leave that bluey tinge there in the rocks, in the colour of the rocks. There we go. Now this boulder here, just mix myself a bit more colour. The crimson, the blues, and a tiny smidgen of the black. So no point trying to paint without colour on your brush. Right, with that, this boulder here, it's like slowly starts to work its way down, and then you have a big drop at an angle there. Paint behind that now. Just blend behind it with that lavender. More crimson to that bit. There we go. Now it does come down pretty steep, but then there's an area here where it bobbles off and comes down again. Just there. So now you're getting a nice definition here for all of this. On the edge, a boulder just there, Another one just there. So you don't have to do them straight away, you can go back afterwards and do the little things. So now we've got another little drop on that, so this there, just like that, just like that. And then this part here, I'm just gonna put another boulder in. It's about there. This is a bit more rounder type of a boulder, is that? So I'll paint that a bit rounder, like so. Even a bit more round than that there. And then another. Sits up in that area there. There's some nice detail for these edge ones, and then it simply goes down then. It's a really nice one that goes down. There's a little bobble on it just about there. And it goes up again. Reload your brush so that it stays nice and dark. That contrast against that light is still going to be there. Will highlight slightly lower than the top, so that darkness will still remain in there. It's just what we want. Paint behind that with the dark. I'm just going to pick up a bit of that green from underneath, and then this one here that comes down at an angle. A little peek off to it, and then it bubbles right down to there, right down to the bottom of there, like that. Get some of that colour, paint it up behind, and basically it just runs off down there like so, and we'll leave it at that for now. So that's the very top edge done. I painted it in nice and sharp. I'll get a bit more paint, just redefine this edge a bit. There we go. Now we'll let that dry just a tiny bit, and I'll get straight back to you guys. When I say let it dry, it's not going to dry, it's going to stay wet actually, but what I'm going to do, in fact I'll do that now while it's still on. I'm going to use a tiny little bit of Van Dyke brown. Just the smallest amount of Van Dyke brown. It's quite a firm colour usually, Van Dyke brown. It's not runny. So in that way it grips the paint very well that you're going to highlight with. So it always helps to have some of this Van Dyke brown in for these rocks. Even though I want it to have the bluey tones here and there, I'm just going to add a bit of that brown to it. So I'll have both the blues and the browns in there. And you can see where you want your rocks and cliff on the cliff face there. So this colour is just going to be underneath slightly, because they're more or less in silhouette at the top part, and then we've got a cliff coming down into there, so again just not everywhere but here and there, put some of that colour in there.